In one of my previous videos, I spoke about something most founders feel but don't always say out loud. That strange place where you're getting attention, you're getting demos, people know your company, but when it comes to choosing, you're not the obvious pick. You don't get rejected, you get ignored. I've worked in B2B marketing for nearly a decade, and I've worked with a lot of founders, different industries, different products. But I've noticed something common. Every founder goes through one phase, the pain of uncertainty. Because when nothing is working, you don't sit still. You start asking, where is the next deal coming from? Is it this region, this industry, this type of customer? You're looking for a pattern. Because the moment you find it, you can double down. You can go deep. But until that happens, everything feels like it's up for adjustment. So you start tweaking things, not randomly, responsibly. You look at your website and think, maybe we are not being clear enough. So you tweak the website. You look at your messaging and think, maybe we need better examples. So you add more use cases, more case studies. You look at your audience and think, maybe we are talking to the wrong people. So you try to appeal to a new customer type. And then you look at your product and this thought shows up. Maybe we are being seen as a tool, not as a toolkit. Maybe we need to look more complete, more like a full solution. So you expand more capabilities, more features, more possibilities. Because somewhere in your head, it feels like if they see the full picture, they'll finally get it. And all of this feels like course correction. Like you're doing the right thing, but here's what's actually happening. You're trying to fix what's visible while two mistakes sit a layer below. Mistake number one. Most founders think about buyers like this: a CTO, a head of product, a marketing leader, in roles, in segments. But buyers don't operate like that. They think in situations. What's breaking? What's slowing us down? What do I need to fix right now? Mistake number two. Most founders anchor their story in outcomes, growth, efficiency, performance. Because outcomes feel like the destination, like how Singapore tourism sells the destination. But execution doesn't work like that. It works like the relationship between Carlos Alcaraz and his coach. A coach training Carlos is not training him for the Grand Slam. They are fixing Carlos' stride, recovery, his timing, because that's what actually moves performance. But you're speaking in outcomes while the buyer is dealing with something immediate. You're speaking to roles while the buyer is thinking in situations. So the two never meet. And that's why you don't get rejected, you get ignored. Because even to reject something, I need to see how it connects to me. If I don't see myself, there's nothing to evaluate. Let's take an example from a personal life situation. It's late evening, you're at home, everything's normal, and suddenly you hear water. You walk into the kitchen and there's water spreading across the floor. A pipe has burst. Now, in that moment, you're not comparing providers. You're not evaluating options. You're thinking one thing. Who fixes this? And almost instantly, one name or one app or one company comes to mind. Not because they do everything, but because you associate them with the situation. That is recognition. And this is where it gets subtle. Because what you're trying to do actually makes sense. You want to pull the customer towards your grand outcome story. Show them the bigger picture, help them see the value. But your customer is the hero, not you. And the story starts where they are, where something is breaking. That's your entry point. So every time you force buyers to move their starting point, they ignore you. So here's the shift. Relevance is not achieved by going wide. It happens when you go deep into a situation, deep into a moment. And everything comes down to one question. If I'm a CTO dealing with broken deployments and I land on your website, I shouldn't have to think. I shouldn't have to interpret. I should not have to connect the dots. I should immediately feel this is exactly what we're dealing with. This is where this fits. So that certainty you're chasing is there, but not in the places you're looking. It surfaces when you and your team answer this simple question buyers always ask. When do you matter to me? Not what you do, not what you promise. When does this become obvious without explanation? Because if you don't meet your buyer where they are and expect them to come to where you are, it's like taking visuals to a radio show. You can carry them, you can present them, but no one can see. And until that moment becomes clear, nothing compounds. Not your marketing, not your messaging, not your growth. In the next video, I'll show you how to find that moment.